Hello and welcome to the MTDA Connect Credit Recovery Student Orientation for the 2012-2013 school year. My name is Ryan Shrink and I'm the Instructional Manager at MTDA. This orientation will take you through the information that you will need to know and to get started and to be successful in the coming year. I'm presenting to you today from the Phyllis J. Washington College of Education and Human Sciences at the University of Montana. If you're ever on campus in Missoula, feel free to stop by the third floor and pay us a visit. So what is Connect Credit Recovery? Connect Credit Recovery is a program offered by the Montana Digital Academy for students in Montana to take classes in which they've attempted but failed before. It allows for pre-testing out of some of the curriculum. It's going to be a self-paced class. However, you're still required to do and log in regularly on a regular basis throughout the year. And there is an end-of-year deadline that will be enforced on August 9th of 2013. Curriculum will be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but most of the time you will probably be attending from your school during a class period in a room set aside by them. The classes are also supported by a team of support for you. You'll have a local facilitator, someone at your school who's going to help you out, a coach who will be available online who's a teacher in the state of Montana in math, science, social studies, English, computers, or health, and me and our other MTDA staff for technical support and setup of the program. As I mentioned earlier, classes for 2012-2013 start on September 4th, 2012, and access will end on August 9th, 2013. Enrollment will close sometime in late June for these classes. However, there is a reminder for you. Your school will likely have an earlier deadline, so check with them. Also, if you're intending to take more than one class, you need to work ahead and plan so that you can finish those classes in a timely enough manner in order to graduate or whatever other deadlines you may have. A reminder also to your facilitators is that we present a percent grade to schools and then they decide what goes on the report card. So they'll be doing that for you once your final percentage is presented from our coaches. Next, we'll go over student responsibilities and expectations. First, you'll be able to log in immediately after being enrolled to see your classes on your Genius dashboard. However, you'll log in the day after your enrollments, about 24 to 48 hours afterwards, the very first time your enrollment is processed, and then you'll make sure you're in the correct classes and get started on work. And we'll go over how to do that in a little bit here, but you'll also need to note that after 3 or 4 weeks of inactivity, you'll receive warnings and be dropped if you haven't been active in that amount of time. Also, students are limited to one class at a time unless special arrangements have been made between me and your facilitator. Next, you want to watch for a welcome message from your coach and make note of who your coach is for each class. Review the Connect 2012-2013 entrance counseling form. There's a link on this slide, or you can go there by visiting our school portal and clicking on the entrance counseling form if your facilitator did not already share this with you. As a reminder of what that form has on it, it states that 3 to 5 hours a week of work is usually expected in order to be successful in a credit recovery program class. Also, there will be proctored unit and semester tests by someone at the school or designated by the school to do so. You'll need a reliable way to submit written work. That includes typing the written work as well as submitting it either by fax, email, or some other scan and attachment method that you may come up with your coaches. Next, you'll need to be able to email or have access to the messaging system to contact your coach reliably with questions. You'll also need to have computer access with Internet Explorer and the Internet so that you can get to your classes in a reliable manner. It's not a bad idea to plan for alternate access as well. So if you're connecting from one place and need to find a relative or someone else where you may need to connect to get regular access, it's good to plan that out ahead of time and have a backup plan. Next, make note of who your local facilitator is. and how to best get a hold of them for help or for proctoring or for handing in written work or any other questions or problems that may arise, so that they can work with me to get them solved as soon as possible. As mentioned earlier, your coaches will send a welcome note as well as a course learning path guide, or abbreviated CLPG, for each class. Inside of that CLPG, you're going to find a checklist of work to complete, a checklist of any work that needs to be skipped or modified, and a checklist of any additional work that may be added above and beyond what's in the curriculum. Grading scales will be included for each class. And note that all work in the Course Learning Path Guide must be completed before you will receive a final percentage in the class. If you don't complete it, the class will be an incomplete. Coaches are there to help answer questions about the curriculum and will also provide your final percentage to your school for each class. We'll then mark that down as some sort of grade in your transcript and on your high school, or help you toward your high school diploma. So when you first get signed up, again, you will download and familiarize yourself with that Course Learning Path Guide. You'll go to our student portal and log in. We're going to show you how to do this in a little bit. You'll take the Unit 1 pretest in one sitting to assess what you know coming into the class. You'll do the rest of the modules for Unit 1 in order. And you'll note and we'll be able to see this later, but if you have a little blue E next to the module, it means you've exempted from it and you already know the material and you've tested out of it. Next, you'll also arrange unlocking of the Unit 1 post-test and proctoring by the facilitator with your coach feedback on your written work when necessary. And then next is you'll just repeat that for each unit, and most classes have somewhere between 3 and 6 units in them. So the work in each class consists of things such as unit pretests, tutorials, computer applications or tutorials that are computerized, practice items that you may have to do to reinforce what you're going to learn for the module mastery tests, other Course Learning Path Guide materials such as offline activities, project work, discussions, Dropbox items. There could be module mastery tests, or there may be module mastery tests on some of the computerized modules. And then also the unit post tests, which are proctored at the school. And finally, one semester final tests that will be graded and proctored by your school as well. We've mentioned these tests several times, and we probably will a couple more times before we're all done today. But the module mastery tests will be locked after 2 tries, and you'll have to contact your facilitator or coach to get them unlocked. And they will probably ask you some questions or work with you on the material to make sure that you understand it the next time you take it. The other thing is that the unit and semester post tests are always locked, and they require you to contact your facilitator and or coach to unlock those and take them with a proctor at the school. At the beginning of this semester, grades are only available from the school district and not viewable through Genius SIS for parents at this time. Or they may be available if you ask a coach for help, or our MTDA staff can help with grade reports as well. However, soon in the fall semester of this year, that is slated to change, and maybe by the time you're listening to this, if you're listening to it partway into the semester, this will already be true, that you can log into the Genius SIS portal for parents and students and check grades that are updated on a daily basis. Coaches will close you out when you're complete with the class. If all the work is not done on the Course Learning Path Guide, then you will have an incomplete. However, this is an idea for you of what the grade scale will look like. This is with classes where written work is expected, and the breakdown will be 15% of your grade will be figured on modules and completion of those modules. You must finish all of them to get a grade report, however. Next is the Dropbox, offline, written work, all those activities, anything in the Course Learning Path Guide that is not a computerized module and expected for you to finish. You must finish all of those to get that portion of the grade, which is 10%. Module mastery tests will be averaged and count 15% of the grade. Your unit tests will be 30% of the grade, and you must pass that at 70% or better to run your grade report. Also, the semester test is 25% of the overall grade and also must be taken until you get a 70% or better in order to run your grade report. In classes where there is little to no written work, modules will be 20% of the overall grade. They still must all be done in order to run a final grade report. The mastery tests will be averaged, and the score will be 15% of your grade. The unit tests this time will be 35% of the grade. Again, they must be proctored and have 70% or better on all of those in order to get a grade report run. And the semester test will also be 30% of the grade, and it must be proctored and scored 70% or better. If all those requirements are not met, you will receive an incomplete, and you'll have to keep working at it. When submitting written work, it's important to talk to your coach to see what the best way to do so will be for them and for the individual assignments. Could be that you can just type into an email and send it off to them, or maybe scan something and send it as an email attachment. But you can find the email addresses for all the coaches at montanadigitalacademy.wikispaces.com, and then you can see the rest of that address there with the / academic + area + coach + contact + information. If you go there, you'll get all of their emails and you can send that information to them, or you can do it from within the PLE messaging system and find your coach's name and send them a message. And you can also send those in by fax. You can label them with your name, school, class name, and then fax it to 1-855-406-6832. It is important that you label all of that work. It's also important that you separate it out by subject. So send all of your English in one fax, all of your math in another fax, all of your social studies in another, if you are happen to be sending in more than one at a time. Also, it's just important that you label it. It's like putting your name on your paper before you hand it in the classroom. It's important here as well. We've already covered a couple of these how-tos, but the big one that I want to show next is how to log in and what that's going to look like, as well as how to take your first pretest and get into your curriculum initially, what it's going to look like and such. Feel free to pause this slide if you need to, come back to it, take notes, print it out, whatever you'd like to do. But this gives you the step-by-step directions on how to log in to the class and what all you'll need to do basically from beginning to shortly after logging in. So the first thing you're going to do is go to our website and the student and parent portal page. And instead of going right down the list here, I'm actually going to take a break here and go show you how this works. First, visit the MontanaDigitalAcademy.org website. Next, click on the Student and Parent Portal. Once the portal page appears, type in your username and your password. Once you log into the Genius dashboard, click on your class to enter it. When the assignment page in the PLE pops up, click on the class to begin taking the curriculum. First time you log in, you'll select Unit 1 to begin the pretest. Once you open Unit 1, the pretest is the next thing you click, and it will pop up in a window and you'll begin taking it. Once you've taken your pretest, you'll have a screen that looks somewhat like this, although it's not usually normal to see this many exempted modules. You'll take your pretest and notice the green circle shows that you've completed it. That's by the first red arrow. And then the second set of red arrows shows that some modules were exempted with a blue E. That means they were tested out of. And the other module, the properties of real numbers, was at first a white circle, and then once it was completed, it was changed to a green circle to show that it was done. Then finally, the exponent power rule one there was taken and mastered at 80% or better for the mastery test and completed with the green circle. And the post test eventually was taken because all the rest of the modules were exempted from, and the post-test was taken in this example. This slide shows an example of a module that is computer-based. There's a tutorial and an application which will, in turn, as you complete those and complete any of the application work that requires input, it will open the mastery test for you to take and apply what you've learned in the tutorial and the application. Make sure that you take the mastery test with no other windows open, or it will give you a 0, and you'll have to pass that mastery test with an 80% or better to receive a gold star and a green circle in order to move on and mark this as complete. Also notice that the offline activity here that doesn't accompany a record completion is not required. It's a supplemental worksheet that is there for practice. Notice the difference in this slide, which shows an offline activity, or it could be called a written activity or a project or something else in other modules, but this one happens to be labeled as an offline activity, and it is accompanied by a record completion in this case. What that means is this is going to be something that's going to show up on a course learning path guide as a required offline activity. It's usually, in this case, it'll be a worksheet, or it may be a writing assignment or something else that you have to submit to your coach by fax or email to be graded. And then you may be able to click on the finished button, and it may even show as a green circle, but it's not really completed until that coach has provided you feedback and a grade on this sort of assignment. Finally, I'll leave you with the resources for help and remind you that coaches are here to help you on anything in the classroom, not me. They're listed on your student academic snapshot within Genius. Also, if you click on the course information link in Genius SIS, you're going to get your coach contact information. They are available by email on the list that I showed you earlier, or in the PLE messaging system when you log in and go to type in a message. Facilitators generally will contact me or our staff when technical issues come up, but if you're stuck and you need to get a hold of us, feel free to. Next, I'm here for enrollment help, communication problems, technical support, or facilitator help, and my email is ryan.shrink@montanadigitalacademy.org, and I'm available here in Missoula at 243-6122. I really look forward to assisting you in getting your credit recovered, and I hope you have a great semester.